welcome to this podcast that at the time of making it doesn't have a name yet. um, so what we're gonna do today is just kind of talk about kind of the process of writing and creating the songs from the latest album Binary by me and these lovely folks that have joined me here today. So let's go in order of song that came out. So Traces of a Headspace. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I go by the moniker Traces of a Headspace. Were that were my name, but unfortunately it is not. My parents were not that good at rhyming. You can find me on all sorts of social media channels as Traces of a Headspace, or at least you could, except for the fact that the moniker is relatively new and I have not posted anything under it yet. But by the time this comes out, I may have. Google it. You might find out. It's a game now. Have fun. I worked on the song Eternity, which apparently headlines the album according to YouTube. I was that weird voice part in the middle of it that you may have recognized from my dear. From the last album. If you haven't listened to that one, go listen to it. Ryan did a bang up job.
All right.
Except for that one part.
How much are you paying this guy?
Okay. Next we have Noah.
Yeah, I'm Noah. I helped work on Lost Sanctity, and I did vocals in it. So I'm the person you can cringe at when you hear it. No, I'm kidding. And I also helped write the music and the lyrics with Berserk. So yeah, I also am unlike I think most people here. I'm not like an established public entity of any kind. Just a friend who likes music, and just thought I'd lend my voice, and it was a pretty cool opportunity.
Okay, next we have Whiskers.
Oh, hi, that's me. I'm Whiskers. I have a Twitch channel and a YouTube. I worked on Moon Pie. I've never written a song before. I helped a little bit with the music, but mostly the lyrics, and I sang, obviously, if you've heard it. And it was interesting. I think it was a little bit ambitious, but I'm proud of what happened in the end, how it turned out. So yeah.
And then finally we have Beavernaut.
Good save. Hi, I'm Beavernaut. I worked on the track Retroglycerin, to which I graciously gave the name and a lot of the bleeps and bloops and just general stylized parts. Unlike the others, I did not sing because I cannot, but I can do cool things with 8-bit synthesizers, so got that going for me. You can find me online in places. Just look, you'll find me eventually.
Keep an eye out. You can't miss it.
I'm sure you can, but
Yeah, I missed it once or twice.
it happens.
Well, with the self-introductions out of the way, let's get talking about the songs in general. So, just to reiterate, we are going to be talking about the collaborative songs off of Binary. I don't intend on planning or talking about any of the solo ones I did, but if it gets brought up, it gets brought up.
You shall not have his secrets.
Yeah.
Only
So just explaining the format for anybody who's listening. We're just gonna kind of start from the top of the album, and we'll just kind of discuss the song in general, kind of what the ideas were going into writing it, and anybody can chime in at any time here and ask questions to me and whoever else was working on the particular song at the time. I kind of wanted to be a compare contrast kind of thing, because they were pretty different writing styles for sure. Everybody here has a very unique way of working, and I think it really led to a nice, diverse sounding album. So with that in mind, so the first song on the album, the opener, was my collaboration here with Traces of a Headspace.
Traces was fine.
Yeah, I'll go with Traces for the rest of this, just to make it a bit easier. So I know starting out, I think I had written a bit of the backing track music while working on the Technicolor Dreams album. At the times, at least with the synthesizer sounds, it was something that was, maybe this is going to be on that first album, but I just hadn't finished it by the time I was ready to put that one out. So I used it as kind of a base to start the new song, and then I contacted Traces here to see if he'd be willing to do another narration like he did with Prologue off of Technicolor Dreams. And he
I did get that wrong.
agreed.
I said My Dear. Speaking of, although you should go listen to My Dear, which is the thing Prologue is a prologue to. Go listen to them both, in fact. Give him more views.
Thank you.
You're supposed to be shilling for this album. You know,
One album shill at a time, please.
Hey, I worked on both of them.
Yeah. So, I just credit where credit is due. I think I did most of the music work on this one, but I gotta give it to Traces here. He was the person that got the lyrics and narration where they needed to be.
Yeah, I can't remember. We started this one because, you'd started tinkering with this one way back in Technicolor Dreams. We were tinkering with the lyrics with this one quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which was you, which was me. I think I may have tinkered with the bridge a little bit.
Yeah, and definitely the second verse. Definitely the second verse.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because I
You
remember,
can even see the reference to Technicolor
remember,
Dreams.
I sent you the draft, and you were like, "Is that really as good as you can do with the second verse?" And I was like,
I
"Yeah, this is why I called you."
Fair cop, I am a lyricist and a poet. But
And he wasn't even aware of it.
that's like a 10 out of 10 joke.
Thank you.
I have to go get my drum out. But yeah, no, I could tell because I'd seen some of your lyrical work from Technicolor Dreams, Ryan. So I knew you could do good stuff. But so I wasn't so much surprised that I didn't think it was bad because you didn't know it. It wasn't bad because you were incapable. It felt bad because you didn't know what the hell to do with it.
Oh yeah, I know. I guess this is as good of a time as any to kind of like talk about like what the overarching theme of that song definitely was. Because when I started writing it, it had the test title Sunspot. Funny enough.
Oh God, that was before you even showed me this. That must have been because I never saw that title.
Yeah. So when I like, because how most of these songs that I make start really is I'm messing around with a synthesizer or a piano plugin, and I come up with some kind of melody, and I go to save it, and it has to be named something. At that time, it was Sunspot. But kind of after making like the initial kind of melody for it, I remember kind of going down to Florida for a vacation, and I spent a lot of the time coming up with the initial idea down there. And actually, I think I have my little book with some of the
Song about an old
original
man in a
writing
hospital
lyrics.
room being composed in Florida? Yeah, it fits.
Yeah, because yeah, the original lyrics I came up with, I think, down in Florida went like they. I'm not gonna sing it. I'll just say it. So it's like, and when the people look back, I hope that they will see a better place in the world than what was left for me, where all of the stars in the sky will be within our reach, and we will move from the ground into eternity. Obviously, that's different than the final product. But that's what I wrote down there, and that's when I just kind of had the solid idea of, okay, this is somebody that's at or close to the end of their life, and they're kind of reflecting and hoping that they left a mark, basically. And so I obviously most of that went and stayed. A little bit of refinement. But I think Emperor Sun, or that's what he used to go by, Traces, really helped get it over the edge, especially with the
Fool,
narration.
you leaked my private account. No!
Sorry.
Still not my real name. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember that version. I definitely remember there was an in-between version in there, because...
Yeah, there's definitely... It's just so hard to find.
Anyone who knows my work, which in this call is Ryan, or Berserk, as you may also hear others in here refer to him as. I figure, given that he's titled his YouTube channel Ryan Debolt, he doesn't mind us using his name.
I go by both.
I can't believe you just dox him like that.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Yeeks.
You think
First
you know a
and
guy.
last name?
Whatever will I do?
But
It's not like
I'm
any
a
other
massive
celebrity
fan.
uses their real name.
I'm
And
a
I'm no
massive fan of lyrical complexity. So I believe there was a intermediate version where the chorus was ridiculously dense. And Ryan and
Yeah.
I sort of workshopped it to the middle point that it is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In fact, there's a secondary version of Technicolor Dreams, which no one will ever see, where I tried to turn the entire song into just references to the animation industry. And it was so hard, and I put so much time into it, and it was just not as good.
Yeah, it's so hard with lyrics sometimes.
Oh yeah,
because
So when's that coming out?
it's on the previous album.
That version
already...
of Technicolor Dreams will come out the same time I come up with lyrics for Chasing the Sunset.
That's a shame.
Wait, I've written you lyrics for Chasing the Sunset.
No, he said he has to come up with them.
Yeah. But I think that really is one of the challenges that kind of comes with writing lyrics, is like striking the middle ground between when is it too complex for it to be relatable, and where is it too simple to tell a story.
I not to skip ahead in line, but I noticed that as well, like in writing lyrics, because I've never written lyrics for anything. But there were a few times where like the language I was using was a bit heady, and like at some points I sounded like an 18th century author. I was like, this is. And even though like I do happen to write like that kind of a lot, a song is not like an academic paper where like you get points for sounding sophisticated, and in fact it usually comes off like as kind of mean and patronizing, I think, to your audience.
Yeah, you don't want to sound elitist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, these elitist 18th century techno musicians.
I mean, yeah, and like, there's an argument there for like, it should kind of match up with the genre too,
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
like
the music,
obviously, like an orchestral thing can definitely have much more complex lyrics, because people that are listening to orchestra music are looking for that.
right.
People
Yeah,
that are
but, like,
listening
when you're
to
doing-
kind of a indie pop song, I guess, is the closest thing that you could say.
I would, yeah, kind of that kind of synthwave, kind of just general. I don't really. I guess like
really hard to-
nebulous 80s.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's one of those things. It's like I listen to the album, I'm like, I have no idea what the overall genre of this could be summarized as.
Actually, given your running theme of space stuff, nebulous is not a bad word.
Yeah, unfortunately, most
Okay.
streaming
Okay.
platforms don't have that as a genre.
We'll
So,
pioneer it.
I guess maybe in that way I'm a pioneer, but I don't think I want to give myself that much credit.
Yeah, he's a pioneer, treading new ground.
Oh
musically.
no, I don't think I'm
He's a
quite doing
pioneer
that.
of not sticking to any sort of consistency. Congratulations, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no, it makes the album a bit harder to market. Whatever. But anyways, I guess getting back on Eternity, I think going back on the writing process a bit, there was kind of the big gap in the center where the narration happens. Which
Yeah, I remember. I
Yeah.
remember that. You left there that I was like, this is a great place for either a solo or something.
Mhm.
And I think that's when you asked me to do the narration, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. If I'm correct, you can correct me. I think the idea, because I think it's fairly obvious at this point. If you go look at the thumbnails or even the title of some of my songs, I like space stuff. I'm an astrophysicist by almost degree. I'm finishing it.
By day, he is an astrophysicist. By night,
But I love the space stuff, and while I was finishing that,
Hearing an astrophysicist be like, "I love this space stuff."
It's very.
yes,
any fancy
the
or ninja
space
sex
stuff.
party?
Woo!
But yeah, I got
Yeah,
to
kids
that.
like stars.
Yeah, yeah. I think the idea I had in my head while getting to that point was, I don't know, maybe I'm at the tail end of people that would know what this is off of the top of their head. But if you've never heard Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot speech, I think it's from the original Cosmos series. That's kind of what I was going for. I think it actually gets used in TWRP's song by the same name, Pale Blue Dot. So I kind of had that as a
I think there's also a songification of it by an artist named Melody Sheep.
yeah. But that was kind of the idea of like what I was thinking we could do the sound for that wise. Like I wanted it to sound like that. And I think that's what I told Traces here when we were doing that.
Yeah, it's honestly hard to remember. We started this one a while back.
Yeah.
Mostly what I remember about writing this is I had the idea of doing it as a last will and testament.
Mhm.
Because that fit the theme of the song so well. And I just had the idea. I wrote it out, and it just happened to, like, basically, like, the first version just fit neatly in the gap.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's that done.
Yeah, it was like one of those things I remember because like you sent back your original draft and I was like, "Yep, that about does it."
And
It's like
I think I
sometimes
had
it
to
just
cut
hits
out like
the first
5
time.
words to make it fit in there. In fact, in the song, you could actually hear me rushing through it a little bit. Like I speak pretty quickly
Mhm.
to try to get it all in there. But I really liked the language that went into it. I really liked the way that it's sort of this flowery description of what humanity is, because from the rest of the lyrics, that felt like what this character would think about Earth, about people, about humanity. This very hopeful sense for a future he's not going to be able to see. And I wanted to impart that with all of sort of that eloquence that we develop when we're suddenly running out of time.
Mhm.
And so that's what I sort of poured into this. And I only had to crack open a thesaurus a couple of times and it came together.
I think
No
that
songwriting session is complete without a thesaurus.
Or a
true,
rhyming
actually.
dictionary.
I can't tell you how many times I went to like
Rhymezone.com.
thesaurus or dictionary.com. Yeah,
Rhymezone.
Rhymezone.
Shout out to rhymezone.com.
Yeah, seriously.
Saving all of our lives since whenever they decided to go public.
Yeah. But I think kind of going off of what you said there, Traces, I think that really kind of leads into what the overarching idea behind the album was. So while writing it, especially a lot of the solo tracks that I was working on, it was kind of coming together that half the songs were dark and kind of slow, minor key kind of things. And then the other half were like faster, a bit more upbeat, more electronic styled than the other stuff. And so that's when I kind of got the idea to make it kind of like an A-side, B-sides kind of thing. I think like the original name I actually thought about giving the album was Canis, and calling the A-side Canis Minor and the B-side Canis Major.
Wow.
There's that space thing again.
Yep,
Hey.
exactly. And then eventually, just through working it more, eventually I just kind of stumbled upon binary, because it is just like such a switch that it's like a 1 and a 0. Because really you hit after Mountain Call, you hit rev the engine and the sound just changes there.
Mhm.
And there was another song that was planned to be on the album on the back half, so it was going to be a 10-song album. But that last one is another collaborator project. I'm not going to say who, because I'm hoping we can get it out soon. But for various reasons, it just hasn't come together yet. But
All right, you got me.
But yeah, so that kind of talking about the broad ideas behind making the A-side, B-side kind of thing, I think that's a good transition into Lost Sanctity, which
One sounds familiar.
yeah. I think it's probably the most lyrically complex, and it's probably because I had nothing to do with those lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to drop the ball like on your first time writing lyrics, I guess. So I was very like I guess I wanted it to be good, so I really kind of poured a lot into the lyrics for it.
Mm-hmm.
Shows.
Yeah.
It's also very, very clear that you tried very hard not to use Rhyme Zone.
Yeah, I don't
Teach me the forbidden arts.
I kind of I didn't really care about like rhyming the phrases and stuff, just because I didn't want to have to work with that.
Yeah.
And also
I get it.
it just felt like for me, if like for the first time writing lyrics for a song, let's maybe try to start out with as few barriers as possible, so I don't have to like constantly be like worried like, oh my god, I can't find a word that rhymes with orange.
That one always gets me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got door and hinge, and after that I'm about out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, but the
it's
end
one where you
product
just have to use slant
was
rhymes.
fantastic. I freaking love the lyrics in that song, man. You did such a great job with them.
They were pretty good. Yeah.
I'm pretty
yeah.
happy with how they came out. And some of my favorite parts of it is let's see, what sort of love was tainted by my darkened brow, never looking up to see the sun and warm my dampened face. That one, it's just like it was one of the few instances in the song where like the whole like both of those phrases came to me like at the same time, and I was like, I'm gonna write this and then write this, and that was like a really good feeling. And like what I'd really like to do is like kind of write whole verses that kind of work like that, where the meaning of the first line is changed after the second line is sung. Which, speaking of singing, I also do vocals on it, which was fun. But I've been singing since I was a junior in high school. I sang with Berserk and got into college. Started singing with like my campus's men's glee club and stuff. So singing has always been like a pretty big part of my life, and so given that Berserk has already done a lot of vocals for like the other songs that he's made, he asked me if I'd be interested in lending my voice, which was awesome. It was really fun. I was glad he asked me to.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
you
thought
scared me.
it turned out great.
I first listened to this song and I thought it was him, just pitched down, because you guys sing scarily similarly.
Yeah,
to
I
one
kind of
another.
thought it was him at first too, and then it took me a minute before I realized that it wasn't.
I was like, this is Ryan's exact timbre, but it's not his register. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely got to contribute that to us two having sung and done music stuff sitting next to each other for such a long time.
Yeah. I mean, we started doing like music stuff, but fifth grade,
Fifth grade band for sure.
Yeah,
Because
fifth grade
you
band.
play trombone, I play trumpet, and we sat next to each other pretty much our entire time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's how we, I guess, got into it together. Like, got into like music in general together.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
And of course, we have so many shared interests in music too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You also
Absolutely.
like space stuff?
Oh, with my whole heart.
Like space stuff.
I mean, like, who's gonna be like, no, space stuff? That's just not for me. It's kind of
Yeah,
lame,
exactly.
actually.
Yeah. Actually, I think I'd be willing to bet out of all four of you, and including me, if there's one group that we all unabashedly love, it's got to be NSP.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it's across the board. You know, like we all listen to NSP.
Yeah.
It is currently taking every fiber of my being not to launch into one of their songs. Just for the bit.
Yeah. So that's definitely got to they've got to be an inspiration for all of us in this to some degree. But I guess going back on Lost Sanctity, and I guess Eternity and Moon Pie both have this in common. This might be one of the only things that they have in common is the melody for the lyrics was written before the lyrics were. In fact, all of my songs are like that.
Yes.
And that presents some challenges.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. As a
Is it-
poet first, his syllable counts are the most frustrating things. Because he'll be like 7, 8, 4, 6, 5, 7. I'm like, English is iambic, man. Everything you do is trochees.
Listen,
English is iambic.
To all
listen,
the,
man. All
grammar
you gotta do is
out
just
there.
not have words in your song. It's that
Hey,
easy.
all right.
Although,
Yeah.
that is one of the things I wanted to say is the way the lyrics in Lost Sanctity pair with that rhythm, especially for that chorus, is downright impressive for your first time.
Oh, thank
Like,
you.
That is like the way it's swiftly lost sanct, like the way it sort of da 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 da, and it just you got that, you nailed that.
Oh,
And I want to point that out. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years and I struggle with it, and you nailed it.
well, thank you
Choosing
very
not to use, choosing to skip out on rhymes is probably the right choice because you got the feel.
much.
And I did not want to let that pass without saying that because, damn.
I was high key impressed. I mean, I've known Noah for what, like 15 years now at this point,
Yeah.
and it still blew me away at how good that turned out.
Thank you, guys. You're making me feel all warm and squirmy.
Of course. Yeah, but I remember after Lost Sanctity had a lot of weird things going for it. I think number one, we were out there like, we want there to be dissonance in a lot of places. Like there's a lot of chords where there's like minor seconds in there.
I wanted to sometimes like Ryan, you're kind of a very like, and I mean this in a good way. Like you have like a this is how like a song progresses, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And with some of the dissonance, I was like, what if we just like went for it, you know, and just threw some like minor second intervals in some of the chords and just like try to work our way out of it.
Yep. We
and
just
like
go
at
first
first
into that.
yeah. And at first it was like really scary because it was like, how do you write yourself out of this chord? And then we would find a way to get out of it, and then but continue the narrative as well.
Mm-hmm.
Song writing as escape room.
Yeah, like and I guess this kind of leads into like this song, Lost Sanctity, probably more than any of the others was chord driven. We made the chords first. I remember when we were writing the bridge, we tried to write the rhythm first in that one for the melody, and we were just like, this sucks. This does not sound right. Like, what the heck is going on here? And then we threw the chords underneath it, and we were like, wait a second. There's something there. And then we had to tweak it a bit more, and then we got the final product.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it helped guide like the rest of it as well, like getting the chords down.
Yeah.
Helped like, okay, then melodically, then we could do something like this. It kind of gave us like a bit of a canvas to work on rather than just being like, what am I like having no starting point at all.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the other things that kind of sets this song apart from any other song on the album is the key. When we started writing it, it was in F Phrygian. And then I remember we did like an initial like recording test today, and you just got back to me and you're like, it's too low. It's too low. I can't hit some of these notes consistently. And I was like, okay, let's just see what happens if we bring it up a bit. And I think we brought it up to G Phrygian, and we were both like, that changed to the sound completely and in an awesome way.
It was so weird. Like it's like that's like what, a whole step up, and like and I was like, oh my god, this sits in my range way better. Like everything felt a lot easier. It felt like it was in a completely different key, which it was, but like in a key that was like really far away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to imagine that pitch shifted down a whole note.
It sounded darker,
that would have almost
that's for sure.
I mean, that almost would have sounded like some monk choral stuff.
Well, that makes sense because Phrygian is a church mode.
Yeah,
it is.
No, but it doesn't in its current. Like it has sort of that the bells of Notre Dame sort of like vibe right now. Like it's got that sort of that. Like the song has that sort of complex vibe, partly because of the word sanctity in there. Like it's right in there.
Mm-hmm.
But like down would have been more like, you know, that swiftly lost, you know.
Yeah. It would have, you know, like for both, like I remember listening when we pitched it up a whole step, and thinking like, well, this better feel better to sing because it sounds better like through all the chords and counter melodies and stuff.
Yeah. Perks of working in MIDI. You can just do that.
Yeah.
I would have. Oh my gosh! If I had recorded that using like guitars or something like that, I would have been so frustrated.
Well, you understand why live music uses demo tracks.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, but I guess to move forward just a little bit, the pitch shifting was not unique to that song. In fact, we had to do it a couple of times in Moon Pie. So
We had
let's
to
move on
pitch
to
it
that.
down like 3 separate times, and I felt so bad.
Don't be. It just
Well, because
happened.
I would listen to it and I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds really nice. And I would kind of like sing it quietly to myself and I'd be like, yeah, that seems like it's doable. And then I would go to actually record it and I'd be like, this is not gonna work.
Yeah, so for like reference, I think the initial like I don't remember the exact key, but I know like the highest note was like an A above the staff on the treble clef for whack. And I remember like saying it as we were writing, I was like, this is pretty high. Are you sure you can hit that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it would be fine, but it was not.
I mean, Moon Pie for sure. I think, and I don't want to say this in a bad way about any of the other songs, but holy crap, I think Moon Pie is probably the hardest one to sing out of all of them.
Yeah,
Excuse you.
maybe.
It is.
I'd have to agree. Yeah.
It is.
I did
such a
narration,
huge
so
range
I
compared
don't think
to all the others.
I don't think I get a judge here.
I think I'm actually disqualified by default, but
Okay. Well, as the only one with a dog in this fight, I do agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I wish you told. I wish I'd remembered the Carl Sagan thing, because I would have tried to do a Carl Sagan impression.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like how it sounds now. Like, you hear it and you're like, oh, I should have done that. I should have done that. But I like how it sounds now. But there's definitely, it's like, man, I could have done a Carl Sagan impression. I could have been working on that for months.
Yeah. But
no, I definitely hear what you're saying about this one being difficult. It's goes all over the place.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah?
remember writing it with whack because most of these we like kind of all wrote over Discord. Like I'd be screen sharing what I've got. I'd be writing down a piano line on top of something, and we'd either say like yay or nay to something, maybe go back. But Moon Pie in particular was so hard.
Mm-hmm. It was a struggle.
I mean, I'm really happy with the final product, but like there were definitely times where it's like either between like just trying to get the range stuff right or trying to get the melodies the way we wanted them to sound. It took time. It took time.
Wait a minute. You're telling me we can't just pump these bad boys out one after another?
We'll get to that point. But like, yeah, I guess moving towards like the lyric portion, which again was mostly Whiskers. Like we definitely kind of had that. This is going to be part of the A side of the album while we were writing it. It's going to be a bit slower. It's going to be a bit more somber. It's going to have like more darker tones to it. So, Whack, you want to say some stuff about like how we wrote the lyrics?
I don't really remember how we started writing the lyrics, but I remember the image that I had in my head, or like the scene that I had in my head after we finished writing the melody and everything else. I was thinking of like climbing out of my window and up around to the rooftop and eating some cotton candy and looking at the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that ended up in the final like draft of the lyrics, except for the cotton candy part.
Which,
so it started out
funny enough,
cotton.
yeah, Cotton Candy was the working title of the song.
Man, that's
Moon Pie makes so much more sense now.
Yep.
Yeah, because like I couldn't think of another title, but Cotton Candy was so off the wall. I was like, maybe we do a different kind of candy or sweet, and I was like, oh yeah, moon pies.
Yeah,
Cotton Candy just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, and considering like we had the moon being talked about in a couple of the lines, like it worked. Now, if only Moon Pie would sponsor the song, and maybe we can get Moon Pie to use it in an advertisement, spread it around a bit.
I also think it tracks because, like, of the A side, this is the sweetest song.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Aw.
It very nicely transitions into that more upbeat B-side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I
Hmm.
think the thing that sort of helps with the feeling of it being less sad, because I originally wanted it to be more of a sad kind of song, and then as we were writing the lyrics, we got to a part. I don't remember what part you would call
I
it.
think it's the bridge that
The
you're
bridge,
talking
yeah,
about.
the bridge. And then we were sitting there in a Discord call, and I was struggling to come up with something because none of my like depressing ideas seemed like they would fit with the sort of going up feeling that the music had. And then Berserk was like, well, what if we do something like this? And he said, I'm trying to remember, it all comes around and it ends up being sort of like you look at everything and you realize everything's going to be okay. And then I think that sort of helped drive the feeling of it being a little bit more hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool listening to it because like in the bridge you can definitely start to feel, I guess, that the tide of the song is turning from a more somber one to something that's a bit more, I don't want to say like uplifting, but maybe hopeful, I guess.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think on the album, that kind of also marks the point where the whole sound begins to shift, because that gets into Mountain Call too, which is more about just honestly, that one's just about kind of being in the mountains because I love the mountains and I just wanted to write something about being in the mountains. But going back to Moon Pie, like that I think is like the song that starts to get you out of it. And that bridge was a big part of it, I think.
hmm
Let me see if I can pull up the lyrics for you real quick, because I can't
I've just
remember.
had the album open on my computer this entire
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I'm looking at through the lyrics at the moment.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Did we write the verse first or did we write the chorus first? I feel like we wrote the chorus lyrics first, but I can't remember.
Do you think so? I thought we started with like the very beginning where it's you feel the breeze coming into the room and then you start climbing out, because that was the idea
Okay,
that I
yes.
had.
It must have been because the idea of like sitting on the window or on the roof after climbing out a window. And
This song
it is
definitely has
actually
the most
funny,
imagery.
like hearing about that now, because I can like look and I can do that in my room. So I think that was one of the things. It's like I could visualize that so easily.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I've always wished I could do, but the roof is at an angle where I can't quite get to it without dangling precariously. So it's more of a wish of something that I would have liked to have done.
Maybe the next time you're in my part of the States, we'll sit on the window, or
Yeah.
not on the window, on the roof.
Yeah, on the roof.
Any wall
I'll
can
get
be a
you
window
guys
if you
all
press hard
into
enough.
one room, and we'll just all chill, sit outside or something. I don't know.
Hear ye.
First, I got to get two of you in the same state as the rest of us.
Yeah, no, touche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I just had an idea. Like looking at like the 3 songs we all worked on with lyrics, because I think there's something to be said about yours, Beavernaut. But we haven't gotten there yet, so I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anything for what you might say. But Eternity tells a story. Lost Sanctity is capturing this this complex emotional stew, and Moon Pie paints a picture, and it's weird that they each one of them does their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Again,
really cool.
This is the most, because Moon Pie's the most, Lost Sanctity has all that beautiful wordplay, but it's a vibe, not a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Moon Pie has all of this wonderful imagery to it, especially that chorus. You guys did a bang up job on that chorus.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the chorus in particular.
The chorus was fun. I remember, I think we had written an initial version of the chorus. And I think it was the last line, the soar above the boundaries of this world, was something else. And I remember Whack when was like, I don't know if I like that. And then eventually we changed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was definitely for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Each part of the song, like the chorus and the verses and the bridge especially, like it ends on like a note that really summarizes like what the whole was about, and that's what I really like about them. Like in the bridge, the world still has a lot to offer, and I can just be me, and like it's like, oh, okay, well that really, like that really puts it all into perspective, like what was just sung. And I feel like the chorus does that as well at the end of allow my dreams to ascend in flight and soar above the boundaries of this world. Like that feels like a really good encapsulation of the whole moment that was just described throughout not just the chorus but also the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love the bridge, especially because it's just like the line that you were saying about the world still has a lot to offer and I can just be me. I think that is something that at least all of us here in the call can really resonate with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I mean, I think we've all had those points where we've just felt down.
No,
we've kind of gotten through it and then realized, you know what, there's more out there.
I'm like a machine of happiness. I've never felt sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just does not stop here.
Mm-hmm. And then the empowerment of the last line, and control my own destiny, is just, it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really puts this like it kind of like describes very accurately like the existentialist journey, of just like, oh my God, nothing matters. And it's like, oh, nothing matters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more the nihilist's journey.
Yeah. Kind of positive nihilism. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess that lyric in particular kind of reminds me, going back on just kind of like some of the inspirations that I've had. It's like one of the lyrics that it kind of reminds me of from the song Free Will by Rush is like, I will choose free will, is used in their chorus. And it's kind of the same kind of message. It's like, I'm choosing to control my own life and my own path. And I think that's a message that is really nice. And sometimes people need to hear it.
Yeah.
To make a sort of poetic point here, you could say that the thesis of this song is more or less saying that life isn't written in binary.
Oh no, he did not just do that.
Get out.
But
I mean,
did.
like, Traces here is the king of doing that. If you didn't notice, in the second verse of Eternity, it starts with Technicolor Dreams of a Naive Kid. What was the first album's name?
You know what? I don't know how, but I really did miss that.
Time on in the first because that's the thing.
He spent 3 hours on that wordplay.
I mean, I have this narration part in prologue, and I still spent more time working on Technicolor Dreams. Trying to work out the lyrics there.
Yeah.
Because I love animation, like cartoons and how they work, and like all that old school stuff is sort of a minor passion of mine. So it's like I know all this terminology, I could build it all in there, but there was not enough lyrical space for it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the harder things about the way at least I write music, is that I build really strict and hard melodies for singing and writing.
You do not,
unfortunately.
This man has no idea what a pickup note is.
That's a lie. There are so many pickup notes everywhere.
He was a trumpet. Forgive him.
Yeah, but
so
they're
many
supposed to
pickup
be
notes
there so you can have lyrical flexibility.
Yeah. But I guess going back to Moon Pie, like, I think one of the other things, at least in the like musical portion of it, I think that one was like, I said that Lost Sanctity was pretty chord driven. I would say Moon Pie was pretty chord driven too, but had a stronger melodic drive to it.
Mhm.
Like, again, I don't want this to sound like it's a bad thing, but it's definitely the most poppy song on the album, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it does that well. Yeah, I agree in like the best way I can say that.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I remember while mixing the song, like for most of the songs here, I definitely had like a clear set of reference tracks that I was using, just to get the same vibe. And I know the two songs that I used on Moon Pie while referencing, and I think we even kind of talked about them while writing the song, was Must Be Dreaming by Frou Frou and Broke by Kai Kai. And I kind of wanted to find like the middle ground between those like two kind of songs. And I think it helped because both of those vocalists have pretty similar timbre to Whack too. Because Whiskers here, I love your voice. It's got such like a nice light and airy property to it. I love it.
Mhm.
Agreed.
But it's very hard to write for, I think.
Actually, going back to my previous analogy, if you view the melodic portion of a song as sort of setting the image and the chords as setting the vibe, that, you know, that would Lost Sanctity being a chord driven song and Moon Pie being a melodic driven song sort of lines up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how like the personality of the people who are working on it shines through in that way, in like more ways than one. You know.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the I guess just kind of rounding out the A side, I'll talk briefly about Forest and what's it called? Mountain Call.
Yeah.
Like Forest especially, I think I had to slot it in because that one, number one, hard to sing that freaking bridge. Holy crap. Oh, like, okay. Like, gonna get real technical here for just a second. Like, my flip for my vocal range is usually around like an F. I think that bridge I have to push up to, it's either a G or an A. And I chested that, and that took some time to record.
I would have just capitulated and went falsetto.
I mean, I do in the chorus up there.
I've heard you chest a G before in like when we've sung together, and like, you know, it's like if it's not going to sound good when you get it in your chest, like I would rather have a good head voice, you know, a good flip on it, before like a shaky chest voice on it.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, but that one was hard. I mean, writing it was hard too, because that one I might have had some input here and there, but that one was hard to write.
I certainly never touched that one.
Yeah. That one was pretty solo, and that one is, again, going back to the bridge, like that one's kind of, I think, the climax of yelling the emotions out, like just the despair kind of things, like because it's telling the story really of, and this is kind of why it had to go before Moon Pie. It's kind of telling the story of somebody that feels like they are trapped where they are, and they feel like somebody's keeping them there, and they can't do a dang thing about it. And it
I think
sucks.
I think Moon Pie comes as sort of the catharsis of Forced.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's kind of why it was positioned where it was. And
when did you start writing Forced, out of curiosity?
Okay. So
Uh-oh.
Forced and
Stumbled upon an
I
Easter
Want
egg.
Out were actually the maybe the first two that were finished writing, at least. And I think a lot of that is because the melodies that came with that, or at least like the foundation, those were written around the same time I wrote Chasing the Sunset.
Because yeah,
They were old melodies that I came back to like with a new lens and was just like, I've got it.
Oh
Yeah,
boy, I have some fun things to say about that.
Oh yeah.
I have a tiny point, if I may, because I keep coming back to the previous album because I'm on. Anyways, no, it's because I feel some of that, like, Forced would be a good sequel to Technicolor Dreams in a sense, because Technicolor Dreams, the song, sort of gets at this idea of, you know, doing it for someone else's, you're playing for someone else's scheme, and Forced could be from that same perspective of someone who's like really internalizing the grief of that entrapment. And so, and the song also has sort of the same vibe as those songs. I was like, so that's why I was curious from how long ago it was, because in a way, this sort of becomes a bridge point between your previous work and your new work.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. And then after Moon Pie, again, kind of Moon Pie's kind of like the realization moment, I guess, of the album, that again, it comes back to and Control My Own Destiny line, that the tone begins to shift, because then you get Mountain Call afterwards, which is, again, like I wanted it to be the feeling of, you've gone up to, just because they're my favorite mountains, the Rocky Mountains, and you're just kind of standing there and taking it all in. And like, it's kind of the release breath.
It does feel like it feels like a resolved version of like Wanderer Above a Sea of Fog, you know, of like oh, never mind, you know, like actually it's going to be okay. You know, it's like if you had that painting, but like the fog moved, you know?
Yeah. Like, I guess to just kind of throw some lyrical continuity between things. You can see in Moon Pie, you have the wishing on all the stars that I see. And the final line of Mountain Call is, all the constellations will be in your view. So yeah, there's a little bit of continuity there.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And then
I like that.
Yeah, so then it gets into, I'll go very quickly through the next two. You get Rev the Engine, which, that one, honestly, that one started because I was messing around with my synthesizer with the glide tool, set it real high, and just set the note real low and went it back high, and then I noticed as I was doing it, I was like, that kind of sounds like an engine. I'm going to make a song about that.
When we were working on Eternity, you showed me that. I remember you showing me that, going, yeah, here's the next song.
Yeah. And so that one's kind of like a get in your car, drive fast, like feel good kind of song.
You know, it's amazing to me how often a lot of these songs just like start from like happy little accidents of just like, wait, that sounded kind of cool.
Oh yeah, like
do that again.
Like you I think Brian's seen it before. I think some of them got erased because at one point in the middle of making the album, I did actually have a hard drive failure, and so I lost some like synthesizer presets. But like Brian can attest because he's seen a lot of them, where it's just like,
you have so many. Why?
Yeah,
he
it's
really
like,
does.
I will just create synthesizer presets,
and none of them.
And
none of them are even like named anything descriptive. It's just like, how do you remember this?
They are named every single time. I can almost guarantee that they are named based on what I am watching. For
Or
example,
just something you saw out the window.
For example, I am pretty sure I'm about to sound like a giant weeb here for a second, forgive me. I was watching Alira Pandora from Ninja Senji EN, and she was making these D's nuts jokes. And I was making a synthesizer sound at the time, so I was like, screw it. This sound is called Dragon D's nuts.
Actually, hold on. I had a couple written down because we were when we get to retro glycerin, I'll just brush over it real quick.
Oh yeah.
But like it was like, all right, so what part would sound good for this leading instrument? And it's like, all right, and I started writing them all down. It's like, man, these are really weird names. I'm sure if I go back over this in like 6 months, I will have no idea what I'm talking about, and it'll just be the ramblings of a crazy person. Sure enough, I go back over today, and it's like, yeah, I was right.
Yeah. I guess continuing on with the album then, like I Want Out is again a kind of another one of the continuity songs, because again it came out, or at least I had written the original Foundation around the same time I wrote Forced, and finished it around the same time too. And you look at the lyrics, you listen to it, and you can tell I was in the same headspace doing both, because they're both kind of talking about the same thing, but from different angles. Because Forced is definitely from the I am stuck here angle, and the I Want Out is like the I'm fed up with being stuck here, I'm leaving angle. And that one's definitely the most like rock style song on the album. Getting that inspiration out of the way. I definitely tried to make the synthesizer presets on that one sound as close to as a guitar as I could without it trying to sound like it was trying too hard to be a guitar.
Oh, like the Uncanny Valley type.
Yeah. Just to say that you were flirting with the Uncanny Valley.
It's like I wanted to give the same vibe as a guitar without somebody with a trained ear being able to go, it's like, oh, that's a synthesized guitar. Because then it just sounds kind of trashy.
Basically being like, oh god, if I don't get this right, I'm gonna have to go find a guitar player.
Yeah, like, I have my guitars here, but I'm not good enough at playing to put them on an album. I just kind of noodle with them, or maybe do some like sound design stuff with them. But I guess finishing out with I Want Out, that then leads us to Retroglycerin.
Oh, yeah. That one was it was a fun one to write. I guess
it was very fun to write.
The whole reason that came about is I write a lot of like chiptune and 8-bit stuff using a completely different program. And Ryan walks up to me one day and says, "Hey, do you want to collaborate on this album I got going on?" And I had nothing else going on at the time, so I'm like, sure, we'll discuss it and whatever. And so we're kind of sitting there in a Discord call, and we're like, okay, I have no idea where we want to start on this. And Ryan pulls out this weird, I think he was just messing with the keys on the synthesizer. And I'm like, hold on, wait, do that again. And he does that same thing again, and it's like, that's it. And that's the beginning melody.
Yeah.
It was just him doodling around on a synthesizer, and it was like, wait, that works.
Yeah.
And as I go on to explain, I guess this entire thing was just a series of happy accidents that ended up working out.
Oh yeah. By far Retroglycerin was the most spontaneous of the songs.
Yeah, it was very much wanted to be sort of like on seat of your pants, just kind of fast and loose sort of writing style. The one thing that I wanted to stress, though, when making it was the sort of layered structure of the song, because it starts out with you just got the bass line doing the droning, and then you've got that first melody come in, the second melody in chords, and then you have a third melody being played on top of the second melody, and the bass line, and it all just kind of melds together. And that's something that I really wanted to like make sure fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, it's such a strong. I guess one of my favorite things to do in writing music is I like building upon the things that we already started. Like I like introducing one thing and then seeing how do we make it more complex the next time you hear it. I think off of the last album, the best example of that is like Exhausted. You can hear it's like it starts just with that bass line, and then like I think it's about every 16 bars it tries to introduce something new before like tearing it back down again. And it was a very like similar like headspace for Retroglycerin. But I guess going back onto like the original like talking with Beavernaut here on getting this one started. I was planning out how I was gonna do this next album, and I was literally thinking in my head, I was like, you know what? I want to get Beavernaut on this one. I think we could make something really cool. And I was planning on Discord messaging him, and then I think it was Memorial Day. It rolled around.
Yeah,
and
we
I
saw
caught
each
him
other
at the cemetery. You know, we're just sitting around, standing around all these graves. You know, like Taps just got played, and we're just like, oh, hey, by the way, I was gonna Discord message you or call you or something. You want to make a song?
And of course, I don't really do anything outside of. Well, at the time I didn't, so it's just like I've got plenty of free time. Sure.
And I think the other thing we did at that time was we decided what BPM it was going to be purely because we knew we wanted it to be fast. And at the time we were still thinking it's like, oh, we might use like half Fami Tracker, like stuff that you're used to using. And then you'll send me the wave files and then I'll mix it.
So, yeah, originally I was going to write a decent part of this in the program that I use called Fami Tracker. It's an 8-bit sort of tracker program. And originally I was going to record half of that, send that over, and Ryan was just going to mix that. But the issue with that was, you know, we were writing the whole thing over Discord, and so there were a lot of things that just wouldn't have come out right, or I would have had to be like, all right, can I see what notes those are? And after about 3 or 4 hours of that, it's like, all right, you're doing the whole thing because neither of us have the patience for this.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, I think like getting into the sound design of everything, it definitely just started with a square wave. It had to have.
I definitely wanted it to be very 8-bit inspired.
Oh yeah,
even if it wasn't entirely 8-bit, it was like a mixture of 8-bit and synthwave.
I think the idea we had when we started was, what if it starts 8-bit and then all of a sudden sounds modern electronic?
Yeah, that was. I remember you bringing that up because I think. Did we end up applying a filter or something to that to make it sound more?
So
we did that with the drums, right?
To everything. Like the drums were the thing that definitely got it at first. So when we were writing, we threw a I think it was the downsampler in Ableton, because I use Ableton to write and mix and such. And we downsampled all of our drums down to 8-bit, and then all of a sudden, like, I think before the bum bum part, that's when I crank it back to normal, and then everything is supposed to sound more modern there. And I actually exasperated the fact later in the mixing process. There's a free plugin that's really fun to use that's called Isotope Vinyl, that basically emulates recordings from certain decades. And so in the recording process, I was like, okay, I'm going to just set it on the 80s track until like the initial hit. And that gave it a punch at that point. Because you get like, with a lot of those old school recording things, it's like you lose the really low frequencies and the really high frequencies. And then all of a sudden they just pop into existence, which was really fun to play with.
And I was really happy with how it turned out. And it's, you know, going back to talking about how everything in this project just kind of fell together in a happy little accident. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned that the first melody was just Ryan messing around with the synthesizer. The second and third melodies were just completely repurposed from old projects that we literally just slapped into the project. It's like, oh my god, it worked.
Yep.
Oh my god, it worked again. He can't keep getting away with this.
He's
then
like,
we did.
he can't keep doing this. Yeah, I think like the one of the tracks we stole from a couple times was one that I had played around with a while back that I had like called Disillusioned. And I guess I guess one thing to talk about writing process wise, in case anybody who ever wants to write music is listening, for like every one project you hear that I've put out, there's probably like 10 you haven't.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like your files
I'd
are
say
like,
higher.
there are like so many. You have so many. Like, oh, I was thinking about doing something with this, and then I just kind of decided to work on something else.
Exactly.
Just looking at my Google Drive of all the collaborations I have just with you, Ryan, and of these two have been published.
Pretty much. It's kind of lucky in a case that when working on this album with you guys that we got it right the first time.
Yeah.
None of us ever had to scrap it, restart at any point, I don't think.
Honestly, I think there were like very few parts, if any, that we had to go back and like redo for Retroglycerin. I think there might have been a couple like stylistic things. Like I remember we had a couple problems with the drums and the chord progressions in the transition to the fast part and then the key change.
Mhm.
That one took us a while because it's like that doesn't really sound really good.
Yeah, we spent a while on the key change. I think it goes from what is it? I know the second key is D. Was the first one C?
I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. I have no idea.
I can't remember.
We wrote this back in July.
Yeah.
All right, I have no idea.
I will say,
as of time of recording, it is almost the end of January. So
yes. So I guess that's kind of one of the other unique things about writing Retroglycerin. It went by the fastest by a country mile.
we wrote this in 3 weeks over 3 separate sessions of about 2 hours each.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
Yeah. So when I say off the seat of the pants, I mean it, fast and loose.
yeah,
That's ridiculous. I
Yeah.
mean,
Very
it
fitting
took
for
me
the
like
song.
3 hours just to do the take of the narration for it.
yeah. I mean, it is. I don't know if it's quite the fastest turnaround I've ever had while writing a song. It's close. It's top 5. I think. Oh man, Technicolor Dreams. That thing might as well be a fever dream for me because, like, Rigel, I wrote that in a day.
Oh my
Like,
god.
I remember the
really?
original release of Rigel, I wrote it the day before it came out.
Just talk about procrastinating a little bit.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, that song is like on my jam playlist.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
one of my favorites off of it.
Yeah.
Actually.
That song goes. I mean, it doesn't really go hard. It's just so good.
Yeah, Rigel was like that. Exhausted. The original name of that was 4 a.m. Cruise. The reason why it was 4 a.m. Cruise is because I started it at 4 a.m. on a Friday, or technically a Saturday morning, and I think I finished it at 6 a.m.
While driving in his car. It was very irresponsible. Almost got pulled over a couple times now.
Yeah.
But
I honestly, funny enough that you say that,
uh-oh.
that was actually the idea of the song. Was that somebody's in their car struggling to stay awake.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I can attest to have written lyrics that way, but it's a little different.
I don't
A little
know if you
different.
could put lyrics on Exhausted. It's such a simple song by comparison, and it's probably why it got written so quick. Oh man, like
I mean,
most of
Retroglycerin,
those songs on Technicolor Dreams were written fast.
Yeah, I think the reason that Retroglycerin ended up being so quick to write is because I went through kind of like the chiptune style of, kind of going through, I guess, simple loops. You got an A section, a B section, a C section, and then it loops, but in a different key with a bridge in between back to the A, B, and C. But then we had a D section on the end. So essentially, it was just like half that song was already written by the first half. We just had to do a bit of a key change.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of our original things that we had talked about doing in the first one was you had said something with chiptunes. Typically, they're shorter songs. One that are built to be looped a lot because they're typically used for video game soundtracks. So they've got to last the whole level.
Yeah, so it's not just that. It's when you write something in that similar style, which the chiptune style was kind of what I was going for. I wanted something. It was the melody that could get stuck in your head, something that was simple enough to that you could remember the entire thing, but complex enough to where it wasn't grating and annoying. And I think we hit a good kind of mix on that. We hit, I think, about 2 minutes in total, not counting the loop section with the key change. And because all of that is like layered, so it goes to one melody, layer on another melody, layer on another melody. It's really easy to remember all of those melodies because it goes like 1, 2, 3, but all of the other melodies are still there. And that's a big reason why I felt like that was very important to do that layered structure.
Yep.
Is so that you could remember and also kind of, vibe with the song.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that across at least most of the album, there's a lot of layering on things. And sometimes you can't hear it just on your first time because a lot of it is just layering instruments on top of each other just to get the exact sound I wanted. Going back to Rev the Engine for a second, that song had, in the track phase, I think 60 different tracks.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the highest I've ever heard of. Like, I've heard of pop songs that have had over 300 if they've used, like, orchestral instruments in the background.
How do you do that as, like, one person? 300 tracks?
I think
very carefully.
I think the most I've gone up, like, in mine is, like, 9. But that's more due to technical limitations than anything.
I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the biggest differences between the Technicolor Dreams album and this album is that Technicolor Dreams, most of those songs are probably 16 or less tracks. Moon Pie, another one, I think had 54.
A lot.
Yeah.
Jesus Christus.
There was, like, so much layering. I think the song that had the least layering was Mountain Call. And that one still had like probably 12, I think.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't need a ton of layers to make a great song. Don't trick yourself into thinking that. But
right, and
that doesn't mean you limit yourself either.
I think Brian's music is a pretty good example of that, of like, like really working with like the
work with what you got
limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because
go back to old school recordings and you'll see that too. When they only had like 4 and 8 track tapes, you had to be really deliberate.
Yeah, for those who might be unaware, in 8-bit, you only have about 5 different tracks to work with. Normally 4, unless you're using sampled stuff.
Doesn't the NES only have 3?
4. You have 2 what are called pulse channels, which are like, those are your bleeps and bloops everybody remembers. Mm-hmm. You have triangle, which can only do a triangle wave, and then you have your noise channel, which is normally saved for drums.
Yep.
And then you also have what's called the DPCM channel, which allows for like samples. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people would use that. You'll see that in a lot of like Sunsoft music, but it was normally never used due to memory limitations. So really you're stuck with 4. So sticking to that limitation is kind of influential on how I wrote this piece.
Exactly. I think like those limitations that chiptune in particular has with trying to stay faithful to that old style really kind of guarantees that you have to have a melody that can hold its own. And Retroglycerin for sure has that.
Yeah.
I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of music for a very long time was essentially 4-track. I mean, when you think of live music, you got a bassist, a drummer, a guitarist, and a vocalist.
Hmm
4-track.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's it's I guess it's just very long. It's like stretched back, but it's amazing when you just take 4 different tracks, how different you can make 4 different tracks sound stylistically from other 4-track songs. I mean, when I say, hey, 4 instruments, that's not a whole lot to somebody, listening from the outside, but stylistically, you can do a lot with just 4 instruments.
hmm
Mhm.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
so like on the writing process, it's like we start with that. And then we sit there and be like, okay, now what happens if we throw a super saw underneath that?
Yeah, it was a lot of layering things, and then also when we were originally writing it, we would write it out and we would listen to it. And it's like, all right, cool. How can I throw chiptune elements onto this to make this more peppy? Because I wanted this, to be a fast song, energetic, just
It
something
is
to get your heart
the
racing.
fastest song on the album.
So
I think the next
if you
closest
listen,
one is Finding Twilight Again, and that actually no, it's I Want Out. I Want Out is 155 beats per minute. Retroglycerin is 180.
Mhm.
yeah. So when we were writing this,
dangerously close to Eurobeat territory there.
Eurobeat was actually kind of an inspiration. It was
Yeah.
Eurobeat,
I could
synth
hear a
rock,
little
and
bit of that in
chiptune.
there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hear the Mega Man soundtrack in there.
I take that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I will accept that as a compliment. But when we were writing it, it was like, okay, so when writing a chiptune song, a lot of times people will use like hits, and that's those arpeggiated hits in the background of like the beginning.
Mhm.
Uh,
I remember sitting
hit-
there and making those in the synthesizer.
hits and arpeggios are super important because when you're only working with 4 instruments, you can kind of trick the ear to hearing more than what it actually is. And arpeggiated hits and arpeggiated just things in general are very important to that sort of like to the sort of feel of chiptune. And I had to make sure those made it in some capacity. I knew the arpeggios were super important. The hits were super important just to keep the beat going. But I knew more important than anything, more important than the melodies was the bass line. If you don't have a good bass line for like synth rock or chiptune, it's just
EDM
not
in
going to sound
general.
good. Yeah,
EDM
just
in
electronic
general,
music.
like
If
the
you
bass
don't,
kick and the bass like tracks,
just the bass
are
line in
so
general.
important.
If it's not driving, if it's not moving, it's just not going to work. And so
Yeah, so I know in the mixing process, like, and actually, I think I can say this with just about all of the songs, is I started with the drums and then I went to the bass. And I didn't touch anything else until those two were sitting nicely together. Um, and maybe that's just my mixing and writing process, but really, I think across the album, those are probably the 2 most important things. Yeah. But it shows the most in Retroglycerin. Yeah.
I mean, that's all I really have to say about it. Like I said, super fast and loose. There's not a whole lot to say because it just kind of all happened and then it was done.
Mm-hmm.
That where the name Retroglycerin came from because it was an explosive process.
We had a list.
We had a list. So some of the other ones. So he was just like, "All right, start throwing out names, and we'll get some and kind of figure it out." So some of the other ones were Writing on Hard Light, Neon Grid Lines, Plugged In, and Warp Zone. And then I was just kind of thinking, it's like, nitroglycerin. That's kind of like it's explosive, fast, but also it's got that retro feel. So I just kind of mixed the two, and it's like, what about that? And he's like, perfect, we're using that one. And I'm like, all right, well, I could have thrown out more names. There was only 5, but you know what? I was perfectly happy with it.
Yeah. Actually,
when you hit a winner. You stop there.
Wait. Okay, Brian, just because you talked about it, what were some of the names? What were some of the names we used?
Okay, hold on. I made a list.
Because I know you made a list of a couple of them. Because one of the writing process things we had was we were writing the things and we were deciding like what synthesizer sound we were going to throw on top of it, and I just like panned through a bunch of like my handmade preset ones that I
All right,
made.
so
And here's some
Ladies
of
and
the
gentlemen,
candidates.
boys and girls, welcome to
I'm-
Ryan Debolt Salacious Synth Secrets.
we're gonna play a game. I want you to check and see what all of these have in common. So, starting with the list. Planner. Gura has TNT. Scream. Delta. Scorpia. Yumulax lead. Uranus. A Bit of Luck. Braveheart. And Clang. What do those have in common? You're absolutely right, it's nothing.
Oh my gosh! If give me 1 second, I think I might be able to find a couple of the other ones I have
You've got
saved.
Yumulax, Brainheart, Clang, and Planner.
Yep.
I'm a simple man. When I hear Uranus, I laugh.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
I pronounce
let
it
me
the
find
ancient
this.
Greek way of Uranus.
I actually do normally say it like that, Uranus.
Well, you see, I am a normal person and I say Uranus and then laugh for 5 minutes.
Let's see.
Hey, Uranus.
Let's see.
Like a butthole.
Here's my current list on Serum of ones that I have. Aiden, Artemis, Avaricia, Beginning of the End, Beta, Boom Boom, Clock Robbery, Council of Bells, Flashback, Grump Pluck, Hachima's Return.
Grumpa pluck.
Hear
I'm
Me.
gonna gloss past Clock Robbery.
I'm trying to picture that in my head. What does that even mean?
Hopium, Hunters.
Hopium.
Hunters was actually one used on Lost Sanctity. It's one of the lead sounds. Iris, Peafowl, Pandora's Soul, Pomgar, Sutorita, Red Lightsaber, Roses, Saturday Bass, Saturday Pluck, Sidious, SSD, Subbass, Super Duper Saws, The Days Saws Died, The Zone,
Jesus died.
Wah, Warden of Time, Wen's Pluck, Wen's, and White Pupils.
Wow.
And then, let me see, what do I have on Vital? That's the other one I use quite a bit. For anybody who's interested in getting synthesizers, Vital is free. Serum is not. Let's see. Board, Bouncer, Chain, Condensate, Departure, Ding, Dragon D's Nuts, Experience, Flint, Heartbeat Kick, Iliad, Monday Morning, 1 a.m., Orpheus, Sana V. Rene, Scaredy Dragoon, Soft Saws, Suggestion, Survive, which I think Survive was used on
Hold on,
Finding Twilight again.
Is Suggestion and Survive, are those two different ones or the same one?
Two different ones.
Oh, that's a shame.
Then
Suggest you
Anyway,
survive.
continue.
You don't have to.
Toyman, VNC, Warble, Y in all caps. And finally,
The
Yandere.
letter though, just the capital Y, not like the word.
Why?
No, it's Y in all caps, but in all caps is spelled out.
In all caps.
Of course.
I'm just happy I got to casually sneak in the Yandere one in there.
No, we all heard it.
We were judging you silently.
I think
As good friends do.
okay, again, being a massive weeb here, I think that one, I think I had to have written while I was watching some, like, I must have been Fauna series from not Ninja Saga, Hololive EN's debut, because she, like, the last thing she did was like do like a yandere thing, and I was like making synthesizer presets at the time, and I was like, all right, I guess that's what I'm naming this preset.
You understand that going forward in every album, every song should contain a reference to one of the synthesizer names that you used to make.
I mean, why can't you just name them like normal people? Like Ping, Seagull Call.
I think it's
Um,
cool that he can name them something and then remember what he was doing when he was making them.
Oh,
I
that
suppose
does
that's
you like,
fair.
yeah. Oh, okay.
You get that nice little like,
Mhm.
I guess, I don't know what I was gonna say. Anyway,
Yeah. But then the last song on the album, Finding Twilight Again, that one came together pretty quick, I remember. And it actually used that pad that was called Survive on it. Because I think the original name of the song was Survival. Totally different than what it was. I can't remember why I had named it Survival at the time, but that's just what it was. But obviously,
He was watching Bear Grylls, and suddenly it just all made sense.
Honestly, I might have been, or I might have just been thinking about it at the time, and it was probably like 2 a.m. when I did it, so I was like, "Yeah, screw it."
Yes.
Well, we're gonna go back
to that time of every week we all have when our mind drifts back to Bear Grylls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hold on. I just wanted to. I'm glad somebody else caught that.
We do love Bear Grylls in this establishment. I do have
We do?
I think everybody but Nathan can attest to. I do have.
Hi, that's my real name.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I was like, wow, you really gotta like name
I'm
drop there. Huh?
sorry.
No, I already got name dropped.
It's
all
only
right.
like the third most common name in the country.
Yeah.
They'll be able to find me so well.
Yeah.
I don't care. People can know that.
I
used to watch Bear
I think
Grylls
with you.
religiously when
I think
was a
it's with
kid. Fun fact.
with Noah, Traces, and Beavernaut. It's just because I've known you by those names first, so it's easy to forget.
I mean, it's fine. Mine's also in my Twitter handle, so like I don't
True.
care. I'm not handled,
but
you know.
anyways, going
My
on
name
back
is
on the thing.
literally like
Yeah.
a month old.
Yeah, I think before, as you can all attest to, I do have a collection of pocket knives, and most of them do have Bear Grylls' name on them.
I do want to point out, like, he was found filming part of an episode about the Amazon in like Nebraska.
Yeah, I know, right? Still an
So, like,
entertaining
Well, be,
show.
I mean,
Definitely
Like,
a lot of bull
entertaining,
crap, but entertaining.
disingenuous. Yeah, I used to watch that religiously when I was a kid.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely went outside as a kid with a pocket knife and a fire starter and would see how long I could stay outside.
I
was
too
captivated
went
by the
outside as a
existence of
kid.
Australians.
I also went outside as a kid.
I was about to say, weren't a couple of
and
you
other
guys
lies
Boy
we can tell the
Scouts?
internet.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, no! No, I was just captivated by the existence of Australians.
Still not convinced they're real. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, have
there's
you
way too
heard
many
about
deadly
what their
spiders.
country is supposed to be like? I'm convinced it's just they made it up for the TF2 comics.
There can't be
Of
that
course,
many
the
deadly
TFT
spiders
comic.
and be a panel colony and also hold the deadliest snakes on the planet and also have
rained-
crazy people and free
rained-
healthcare.
And it rained spiders there.
This is news to
Because
me.
why not?
That tracks.
And they fought emus.
And lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait.
I don't know what he's about your country, but it just doesn't exist.
There
It's
was
not
like
real.
there was like one of their prime ministers was caught like he like pooped himself in a McDonald's or something. Like, I think it was in like the 70s.
Happens we all.
no.
Oh my god.
There was the other one where like some government official, like I guess what would like a legislator or like a prime minister or something like that, just like went swimming one day and never came back, and they'd have no idea where he went.
I will point out the prime minister is a legislator. That's how parliaments work.
Okay, yeah. But hey, I'm American. We got our bicameral system and the executive branch, and all is right with the world.
They might have a bicameral system. It's just often in Commonwealth countries, half of it's not elected.
Yeah. Okay. So
Back
okay,
on topic
just kind of let's do a quick recap then. Can I go through if you're comfortable? Other than the song you worked on, because that's too obvious. Would you all like sharing the song you enjoyed the most on this album?
Hold on
Yeah.
real quick. Gotta listen to the album again.
You guys haven't
I re-
been using it as background music this entire time?
My favorite is Retroglycerin, and like as soon as the album came out, I messaged both Beavernaut and Ryan that I really liked it.
Thanks, G.
Very cool.
Emperorson? Or Traces? Ah!
One day.
One day I will get your name
consistent. I should have joined this call as my Traces account. Then you would have known it was me. I said this. Ryan asked me this question when I first listened to the album, and I stand by my answer. It's a toss-up between Lost Sanctity and Moon Pie. I cannot decide which one of those has a cooler rhythmic lyrical interplay. Like the choruses just hit so hard. They really hit that button for me of the words gooding, the good words, the words the gooding.
Whiskers.
My favorite was Finding Twilight Again, and I also really, really liked Retroglycerin.
Oh, thanks.
Beavernaut?
So this one was like hard for me because you did ask me that, and granted at the time I was busy, so I couldn't listen to the album. But honestly, I think having listened to the album 2 or 3 times, I gotta give it to Lost Sanctity, man. It's just something about. No, your singing's good, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, props for. I mean, literally, I was freaking out. I was like, having some Mandela effect. Like, that's Ryan's voice, but it's not Ryan's voice. That is not how he sings.
I never knew we sounded so similar, Ryan.
I know, right? Because here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing, Traces. You're not the only one who sent me that question. My own mother sent me that question.
Yeah,
my mother sent me that question. Somebody who knows me, number one, but 2 has known Noah a long time too.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't realize we sounded so similar, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Not when you normally talk, it's easy to tell you guys apart. The minute you start singing, and it's like you can tell you were whipped into shape by the same instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It made a lot more sense why you sounded so much like Berserk when I heard that you went to the same high school, middle school, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that affects voice I hear
too.
Well, no, because they would have probably taken lessons from the same music teacher or been in the same chorus or something like that.
Yeah.
Also means
Noah and I can't get rid of each
regional
other. We've been
accent
trying for
variation.
10 years at least.
Yeah, I've been trying. Oh my
Can't
God.
shake the other one. They just keep crawling back.
It also means no regional accent variations. It's like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I can talk in a southern accent if y'all like.
Oh yeah,
no.
I don't tip me. Half my family's Texan.
I'm gonna go bake a potato.
I'm gonna go
I can confirm
some
that's what that's what us southerners sound like.
Oh my
I can
God, that
confirm.
was such a good Aaron impression.
Yeah.
Gotta consume the Pradosec.
Consume Prado set.
Wow.
And Sue Pralisic.
Well, I had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time talking to you guys about the music we've all made. It's really interesting to see the differences in all the production processes.
And honestly, it's really nice to have finally gotten all you guys in the same voice call. Because I swear, so many of you, I've just wanted to meet each other for so long. Especially Noah and Emperorson. I feel like you guys would get along really well. I felt like that for the longest time. And I haven't even brought up the German language.
I will not enter that here. I will, however, say that we should hint that when the podcast ends and when the readers can't hear us with the readers, my brain works. When the listeners can't hear us anymore, we will be planning the next project. I have no idea. We haven't talked about that at all. I just want to screw with some people.
Actually, I think this is a good time to announce it's actually a German polka album. We decided to stray from our roots.
Yeah, we're
And
using
Traces
a lot
will
of
be doing some yodeling.
Weird
yaws.
out really hard. So Google music from here out.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Noah, what's that one German song we sang back in high school?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't
We're gonna do a
remember at
remix
all.
of that next.
It's
gonna go hard.
You name the band, I might know it.
I don't think there was a band. I think it was like a German folk song.
Oh,
Yeah.
I probably do know it then, but without knowing, I know
I
there's
don't
this
know
band
if it's
Unheilig
copyrighted
I
or else
listen
I'd
to.
sing part of it because I can remember it plain as day.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm glad I got to talk to the rest of you all about, the whole writing process. And it's, as Noah said, it's interesting to see how different everything turned out because of each and everybody's individual writing styles. And I think that made for a pretty cool album.
Yeah.
I put my name on it.
I sure hope so.
won't-
It's on Spotify with your name on it.
Yeah, I don't think you get that choice anymore.
Oh, and it should be everywhere else soon too. I'm just waiting for confirmation that it's in other stores.
Space?
Yeah, like let's see, like I know like iTunes, Apple Music, Deezer.
No, he means
Tidal.
like Space Pro. Like we're gonna etch this on a golden record and send it off on a Voyager Pro.
We actually managed to attach this to the James Webb telescope before it went out, so
Oh, I
meeting that
wait.
deadline was pretty tough, but we got it.
No.
Good news, I read about
Let's
that
just
today.
dig a giant hole in the ground, fill it with gunpowder, stick a manhole on top of it with the vinyl taped to it, and then just light that puppy up.
We built a Minecraft TNT cannon and shot it to the moon.
U.S. nuclear bombs are run off of 8-inch floppy disks. This can't be that hard to hack.
Oh my.
No, what I was going to say, actually, for anyone here who's stuck around and also loves space news, good news about we just heard today from the James Webb Space Telescope. Things went so well, they theoretically have over 20 years of fuel.
Nice.
It's good.
Very cool.
They wanted to have at least 5.
Oh wow,
I'd say they met that goal.
Yeah.
that's a little more than 5.
Just a little.
All right.
That
right.
dates
Well,
this episode.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for doing this with me. It's been a great time. But I'm sure you guys have things to do, so I'll go ahead and end the recording here. Thank you, everybody who decided to listen, for listening. Have a good one.